Purify your motives in the waters of Lake Minnetonka. Hi, my name is James, and I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and addict. And a recovering scumbag. I do my live streams here, Recovery from Addiction, every night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Subscribe, share with someone you love, consider joining to support the cause. Let's talk about motives. When it comes time to get sober, all of a sudden we're responsible for our actions. We can't blame it on a blackout drunk. We can't get drunk instead of going into action. So now we have to purify our motives in the waters of Lake Minnetonka. In the words of Prince. Rest in peace, Prince. When in doubt in early sobriety, check your motives, run them by your sponsor. We've talked about it before. We are sick. Our best thinking got us into this situation, being the end of the road, homelessness, joblessness, moneylessness, living with our parents, no significant other, nothing to show for, you know where the road of addiction leads. If you're not that far along on it yet, it doesn't matter. In the big book it says, no matter how far down the scale we have gone, I forgot how the rest of that goes. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we can help others, I think. Motives. The first principle of the 12 principles of Alcoholics Anonymous is honesty. Be honest about our motives. Can we be rigorously honest with ourselves? What is our motive to stop drinking? Are you going to Alcoholics Anonymous meetings because your wife won't get off your back? Are you going because your boss won't get off your back? Well, that motive is called off your back sobriety, and that's what you will get. When we go for ourselves because we are sick of ourselves, then that is when we get sober and recover. MF Boat the First. We will see how our experience can benefit others no matter how far down the scale we have gone. MF Boat the First, welcome. I don't recognize your screen name. Welcome. And thank you for... we're finishing our sentences already. We're finishing each other's sentences already. We're like BFFs. BFMF Boat the First. MF Boat the First. What do the rest of you guys think about that name? Because I can't figure it out. Just like some license plates and stuff. Glad to be here. Thabacue. Yeah, no matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. So it doesn't matter how far down the scale you are. If you have 10 cents of sobriety, give away 5. And you'll end up with 15. I don't know how it works. I'm not a mathematician, nor am I an expert or a guru of sobriety, but it does work. I can tell you that from experience. It's been often said, give away whatever you want to keep. What up, Mike Tucker? We're talking about motives. You know what I mean? Here's an example. I've been going to AA meetings for damn near 20 years. I've been sober 10 months, 12 months, 18 months, different occasions. I've been sober 8 years. I have 7 or 8. I have almost 10. I have 7 medallions and like 3 or 4 one-year chips. My point being is, every one of those times that I've ventured away from AA, I got drunk. But it didn't just start like that. I started going to AA for pretty girls. I wasn't going for the purpose, the singleness of purpose of Alcoholics Anonymous and any other recovery program for that matter, is to recover from drugs and alcohol. to remain sober and help another alcoholic. I wasn't going to meetings for that. My cunning, baffling, and powerful disease had lied to me in my own voice and said, "You're going to AA meetings. You'll be fine." But I wasn't going for the purpose. I was going to talk to pretty girls. Do you know what I mean? Yes, Mike Tucker, I do still have my truck. I'm still paying for it. Actually, I'm getting some help with that. I couldn't, but that's none of your business. I do want to tell you, in case any of you guys out there are on your last leg financially, on your last leg mentally, on your last leg anything. If you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and you're ready to give up, and you got a case of the F-its, the F-U-C-K-its, I'm going to try not to drop F-bombs like I did last night. But if you got a case of, you know what I'm saying, forget the world, forget AA, forget meetings, forget sobriety, forget checking my motives, forget everything, I'm fed up. If you got a case like that, I would like to tell you, the only reason I tell you personal things like I got a sinus condition. Like someone's helping me pay my truck right now. My dad's helping me pay my truck right now. The only reason he is doing that is because when a light goes off, when you've had an awakening, whether it is your spiritual awakening yet or not, every time I've gotten serious about sobriety, people come out of the woodwork. The world is not over. You may only think it is. That's your opinion. Our opinions get us drunk. Facts get us sober. So if I ever tell you anything personal about myself, there's a motive to it. The motive isn't, well, okay, here's one. The motive for keeping that to myself, the embarrassing fact that I can't pay for my truck. It's not embarrassing. I want you to know that it is not. Shit like this happens in the journey of sobriety. Pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization happens. My motive for keeping that to myself is a selfish one. I'm embarrassed in front of the world. My motive for telling you that is it might help you on your last leg of planet Earth. You might be on your last leg. And I might relay that to you and you say, damn, I'm not alone. You stick it out a little bit more. So that motive is more in line with the principles I now follow, my modality of sobriety and recovery from alcoholism and addiction is the principles of Alcoholics Anonymous. I go to meetings every day and I've made the 12 principles my code. There's not one principle in there that says, you know, lie to save your ass from being embarrassed. Service is definitely a principle. Honesty is definitely a principle. I see no problem with telling you that exactly that, MF Boat. Family will deny it, but when you quit drinking, people warm up to you real fast. Real fast. If you think your spiritual awakening knocked you off of your feet, and it knocked me right off of my feet, and it has been for 7 months, just wait till you see the people you've affected with your alcoholism. It's amazing. It's like you're wearing, I don't know what it's like, to be honest, but I do know from this end, people come around quicker than you can blink. So if anybody out there is on their last whatever, their last dollar, their last kidney, their last girlfriend, boyfriend, you know what I'm saying? It does get better, no matter how far down the scale we have gone. Let's talk about motives. So, as that example suggests, I have had my face buried in the gutter from forgetting the principles of AA, and my motives snuck in to start looking for the perfect career, looking for the perfect woman, looking for the perfect home, you know, side job, muscle build, everything. but sobriety slipped into second, then third, then fourth place. Anything you put before your sobriety, you will lose, so keep your motives pure at all times, is my experience. And it happens. I'm only a human, and I'm a man human at that. So it happens. Let me go to this meeting instead of this meeting because she's at this meeting. And that meeting, she's not there. Yeah, that happens. Guess what's been happening since... Now, the spiritual awakening we should talk about on a whole other 60-minute stream, because I haven't had it till 7 months ago. Been going to and I didn't do it. The puzzle piece for me was letting go of my own silly, minuscule opinions about why God doesn't exist, and saying, I think it makes more sense if I put my faith in nature. Because I want to be special. I listen to Nirvana, and I make, and I put holes in my jeans and wear my pants backwards. You know what I'm saying? Like crisscross. Because I want to be unique. We'll be terminally unique, is what it is. If you think you're unique, you'll be terminally unique. Thinking you're too special, your problems are too much and too unique to go to. Alcoholics Anonymous is my choice of a conduit for recovery, and I highly recommend it. But there's also other programs. Nature is God. Correct. But back when I thought I was smart enough to come up with the answer of why there is no almighty God that I can put my trust in step 3 of Alcoholics Anonymous, we handed our trust over to the care of God. We handed our will and our life over to the care of God as we understood him. I was like, anytime I saw God, I was like, man, they always got to capitalize it too. Like, I was making fun of believers. Like I had, out of 8.8 billion people, like I somehow subconsciously and ridiculously, I thought I had an original ideas about why God believing in, this, that, or the other thing. And it's not because I chose to be. It's just I was far away from. It takes what it takes. Like yesterday's meeting. What up, Taj? Was at a meeting today. What'd y'all talk about? Tonight here we're talking about motives. Check your motives and run them by your sponsor too. That's the second part of this. Should be the first. In early sobriety, I was unable to check my motives. And this is relative too, because my early sobriety was, who knows? I consider myself new just for the sake of keeping an open mind to always learning. However, when I came in, my very first, an observation of mine is the disease of alcoholism is progressive, and also recovery is too, in my opinion. In my little opinion, which has been wrong countless times before, it seems to me that recovery is also progressive. If you relapse and put it down for a while, you will come back and pick up in the recovery that you had progressed before. Today's daily reflection is a major one. Alcohol stopped working. Let's take a break from motives and read that. Got it right here. The gift that grows with time. June 26th. For moist normal folks. June 26th daily reflection, a gift that grows with time. For most normal folks, drinking means conviviality, companionship, and colorful imagination. It means release from care, boredom, and worry. It is a joyous intimacy with friends and a feeling that life is good. Alcoholics Anonymous, page 151. The longer I chase these elusive feelings with alcohol, the more out of reach they were. This is a random anonymous alcoholic. That first part is from the big book. This is a testament from a random alcoholic. The longer I chased these elusive feelings with alcohol, the more out of reach they were. However, by applying this message to my sobriety, I found it described a magnificent new life made available to me by the AA program. It truly does get better, one day at a time. The warmth, the love, the joy so simply expressed in these words grow in breadth and depth each time I read it. Sobriety is a gift that grows with time. That's the Alcoholics Anonymous Daily Reflections. Reflections! Glad you went to a meeting, Taj. What'd y'all talk about? A lot of people here are still tossing around whether or not to check out AA. In my experience, our addictions will lie to us in our own voice and keep us out of AA because, and this is my probably vivid imagination, but I identify my addiction as an entity, good, bad, the devil on your shoulder, whatever you want to call it, talks to you in your own voice, keeps you out of Alcoholics Anonymous because it will not exist if Alcoholics Anonymous does in your life. Your addiction in your life will not exist if Alcoholics Anonymous is in your life. And the practice of. I've said it before, you can't just walk in an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, sit there, don't listen, don't speak, and then walk out a sober, happy, joy, and free man. It's not a car wash. Gotta absorb that shit, man. Despite me being a week away from hospital detox, my last year got a job at a pet store and support and an in-town sponsor. Right on. Sponsorship. A sponsor is someone who has had a spiritual awakening as a result of the 12 steps and used to be like you. So, I suggest, through my experience, and I asked a group full of alcoholics in recovery in a meeting, how do I pick my sponsor? And I listened to every single one of them, put it all together, and that's how I picked my sponsor. You know why? Because I was sick. Alcoholism is a sickness of the mind. I don't know how to pick a sponsor. My ego takes over. I listen to my ego. I listen to my motives that my ego has. You know what I'm saying? I've had 5 sponsors. The first one was a black dude. Probably just because, well, I love black people, but he had excellent sobriety and there was nothing wrong with him, but it was something wrong with me. I wanted to tell him how I'm going to work the program. And years later, he still tells me that. He's like, man, you came in, you were telling me how you were going to work the program. False. I didn't even know I was doing it either. My other sponsors included one, I made the mistake of picking a guy. Again, he was from Humboldt, California, you know, the weed capital of the US or whatever. So I thought he was cool. He played disc golf, thought he was cool. Well, he relapsed. That was my picker. My picker for sponsors, broken. My picker for relationships, broken. My picker for careers, broken. All well and good now. Or at least I'm on the threshold of being able to, with clear motives, pick a good sponsor. I know I can, because I have. I don't even know if I did it or not, or if it was God or the universe or whatever. As far as a woman in my life, I'm still just letting I'm just letting it unfold. I've never done that before. I've always, with the wrong motives probably. Some right motives too, but we're all human. There's some wrong motives in there too. I want a dime piece on my arm to show off to people how far I've gotten in life. I want somebody with a you know, a girlfriend resume, you know, that everybody wants. But I don't know shit. It turns out who I thought that was, everybody looking at me is like, that's not who you want. You know what I mean? The no relationship for a first year. I heard a guy today in a meeting say, my sponsor told me not to be in a relationship for 5 years. And he said, he told his sponsor, I thought it was a year. And his sponsor looked at him and said, but for you, it's going to be 5 years. And he got his wife on the 4th year. So it's not 365 days and your picker is fixed and your, you know what I'm saying? That'd be like saying if I go to a certain amount of meetings, I'm a better person and I'm super sober and in recovery. It's not just going to the meetings. We all progress. Dude, I went 8 years without a drink. I had stopped going to meetings around the 4th year, and I was getting closer and further and further away from being able to pick what's right for myself. What up, Stephen King? Quick question. What if your drinking friends are your only friends? What the hell do you do then? Taking that as a son of a gun, I grew up with these guys. There's only one thing we have to change, and that's everything. People, places, and things. Some of those guys aren't alcoholics. They will understand. Some of them are. Our pickers are broken. You picked some of them, stop me if I'm wrong, because maybe they were worse off than you were drinking, and you like to have them around. The wrong motive for picking a friend. You like to have them around because you didn't feel so bad about your alcoholism. Stop me if I'm wrong. That's just a common one. Hey, would you need to be with a sober woman? Yes. Or a non-alcoholic. If she's going to have a glass of wine every once in a while, that's no problem. But if she's going to set up a beer pong table with a 30 rack of beer and plans to get another one, her and I aren't going to work. So that's a topic for a different time. I had a dream about my best friend. I have a video on here about my drunk driving accident. Just look up drunk driving, sober James, coma, recovery. You know what I'm saying? It'll tell the story of how I had dropped a friend off and then not 10 to 15 minutes later, wrapped my Ford Explorer around a tree. Where he was sitting was crushed. There would have been no living person underneath that tree, and it was only the size. It was about as thick around as my leg. But it sent me into a coma for 3 months, and then it took longer than that to learn how to walk and talk again. That's where I got this. That's where I got all the scars I was keeping out of the sun today. But he was a friend that I drank with. Here's the deal. People care about us. True friends care about us. They won't drink around us. If they're not, maybe they're an alcoholic, you know what I mean? Or resent you, MF Boat. What if you find a woman that drinks Prib? I don't know what Prib is. My roommate had exact same deal. Pre-game? You talking about pre-game? I don't know what you're talking about, but Mike, what up? Hope this isn't too personal. Your last relapse, what happened and how did the relapse progress? And the last thing, what brought you back to sobriety? May 23rd of 2023, I decided to pick up alcohol again after damn near 8 years of not touching the stuff. I had been smoking weed for 2 years. I hadn't gone to meetings. I was not in the program. Bottom line is, I had forgotten that to drink is to die. Now, I didn't forget it. This time I said, you know what? I'm going to drink. I don't care what happens. You know what I mean? It took my dogs. I have 2 dogs now. I care for them. And I couldn't see either dying or going homeless and just doing that to another human, to another living being. So after 5-6 months, I detoxed. There's stories about that as well, how I detoxed. And Then even after I didn't drink, I was pacing around wondering what I'm going to do because I was restless, irritable, and discontent. That's when I remembered there is a solution. That is the name of a chapter in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. I went straight to my book, dusted it off, read it. It meant so much to me that I went straight to a meeting, carried the book like a shield. I wasn't letting go of that book because I knew it was the answer, and that was 7 months ago. Then I said, you know what I'd never had before in my program? God. How am I, the agnostic, going to believe in God? And that's what I asked my new sponsor. Turns out he was an atheist 15 years ago. Chemist, super intelligent, logical minded, same thing. He knew best. He knew why God didn't exist and this, that, and the other thing. He asked me if I ever thought about praying for the willingness to believe in God. And I said no, and he said, all right, try that. He said, do you think you're God? I said, no. He said, good. Well, stop treating your ideas and your opinions like they are the be-all, end-all. And then he also said, he asked me, what do you envision a God to be? And it turns out I have a God of my understanding. It's an all-powerful, neither him nor her, just an all-powerful, something that I can't comprehend, something even if I even try to comprehend it, there's no way. There's no words. There's no nothing. He's like, well, step 3 is turn your will and your life over to the care of God, to the care of that, and not yourself. The main point is it's not yourself anymore. That's when you start to realize alcohol isn't the problem. I am the problem. My ideas, my opinions, my will be done, that is the problem. Alcohol is the perceived solution. We self-medicate. It's a disease of the mind, so we self-medicate with mind-altering substances. Some people prefer, and this is probably chemical in my limited opinion, but the reason some people prefer Coke and can't leave it alone, but can leave alcohol alone, and then people like me can not leave alcohol alone, but I can take or leave Coke. I think that's chemical as far as like, who knows why that is. God is dog spelled backwards, correct. Detox is mandatory if you've been drinking hard and you've been drinking long. It is a physically addictive substance, which means you are going to suffer, your body is going to suffer withdrawal. Yet he'll light up a cream. Yeah. Yesterday's stream was on it takes what it takes to get sober, and it also takes what it takes to stay that way. Your friend, unfortunately, will have to hear you speak, hopefully only once. But he'll have to have his gift of desperation, G-O-D. When he has his gift of desperation, that's when he's willing to work the 12 steps of AA. There's people on here, there's people everywhere, there's people, including myself, that says, I'm not going to AA, I'm not going back, I'm not doing the God thing. I know why God doesn't exist. My opinions are the best. I am God, is essentially what you're saying. If you're saying an 89-year-old program of successfully recovered alcoholics that are currently 2 million people strong, if you're saying you know better than that, you're essentially saying you're God. I didn't realize how ridiculous that was until I had my spiritual awakening. Now I look at it like, I was being silly, man. I was being a silly, ridiculous human being. How long until I get back to me again? God's will. It's in God's will. If our will is aligned with God, faster. When you align your motives, when you align your will, when you align your decision to the workings of God, which is essentially, in my opinion, reality. God's will is reality. If you're stuck in a traffic jam, God's will be done. It's a traffic jam. Get over it. Know what I'm saying? Don't drink over it. Don't curse at the person next to you. You know what I mean? Don't break your fist on the radio. Last time I bloodied up my fist, there was literally a tape player radio. But our opinions get us drunk, facts get us sober. God's will be done. God's will is the facts of life. It doesn't matter whether you like them. It doesn't matter whether you think you have a better idea of why that's not true. It is true. Reality is reality. God's will be done. Our opinions will get us drunk. Facts get us sober. Fact is, an alcoholic can't drink. We arrive at the gates of insanity and death trying to prove that wrong, but there's no moving reality. It doesn't matter how strong your opinions are. It doesn't matter how, good your social media comment game is. It doesn't matter how much you research and support your opinion with other opinions on the internet. Reality is reality. God's will is God's will. Facts are facts. I was telling the story yesterday of someone reading from the Step 1 in the 12 Traditions book. They were reading, and immediately I'm on this thing on what's an opinion and what's a fact. You live life on life's terms. In Alcoholics Anonymous, when you stop treating your own opinions and your own bright ideas as like the be-all end-all, and you stop arguing with reality, you learn how to live life on life's terms. Yeah, ask me all the questions. I'm sorry if I don't see them because I'm blabbering on. But long story short, they were reading. I was thinking to myself, what in this story is fact and what is an opinion? The very next sentence, and you can look this up in the 12 Traditions book under Step 1. The very next sentence was, proven by immense experience, this is an AA fact. And that's when I realized I don't believe in these things because I'm brainwashed or because someone was so convincing. Bill W. is so convincing. I didn't believe them at first. I believe them when my experience aligns with what they're saying, 100%. And that's how the program works too. Is an alcoholic's going to tell you their story, and you're going to be looking at them like, this guy's telling me my story. How does he know these things about me? And you'll start to trust him. You'll start to believe him. You'll start to trust that he has a solution. And he does. That's how Alcoholics Anonymous works. One of the ways. Opinions on the internet are way better when you are sober. In my opinion, and this is a funny thing to say, opinions are the high opinions of our opinions. My sponsor looked at me and says, how is your Your opinions have high opinions of themselves, is what he said. Oh boy. What up, JV? If you want to read the big book for free, download Everything AA app. You could do it right now in 3 seconds. Well, I don't know about 3 seconds, but you could get it done before 60 seconds is up, and you will have the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, the 12 traditions. I think Living Sober is on there. Is the opinion of AA based on personal experience? Bill W. wrote, and Dr. Bob wrote the text of the big book 89 years ago, and it is based on their experience. However, their experience was compounded upon by 100 alcoholics, then 200, then 1,000, then 10,000. The collection of alcoholics has verified these facts of AA. That's why they call it immense experience. By immense experience, this is an AA fact. And that's what I'm looking for. Am I really powerless over alcohol? Is someone afflicted with alcoholism completely powerless over alcohol? The answer is factually yes, through immense experience. Before AA and before the Oxford group in the 1930s, we alcoholics were getting thrown in the loony bin. Lobotomies, shock treatment, straitjackets. People didn't know what to do with us. Now look how far we've come. The opinion of AA. You'll hear a lot of opinions in an AA meeting. All that it is you and I times, 15, 30 in a meeting, depending on the meeting, of alcoholics just trying to get along. There is no leaders. There's no dictation. Our only authority is a loving God. Just like the golf course, there are ethics and stuff like that, but the only requirement for an AA membership meeting to be in a chair in an AA meeting is a desire to stop drinking. If you don't have the desire to stop drinking, I might look at you and be like, why are you here? However, if you say back to me, I have a desire to be happy, joyous, and free, because currently I'm restless, irritable, and discontent, I'll say, welcome, you're in the right place. These 12 steps and checking your motives is not just for alcoholics. Checking your motives is if you want to progress and be a better and better person. So on your deathbed, you're not just like Charles Bukowski looking back at his life, and on his tombstone it just says, don't try. Which all of us want to be a good person. You know what I mean? If you don't want to be a good person, you better check your motives. I've seen some pretty promising stuff, Mike DeLeon says. The use of psychedelics in the treatment of addiction as well. Yes. For about 2.5 years, this channel was called Soberdelic, James. And until I checked my motives, the use of psychedelics does get a lot of views, 500,000 to be specific in my case. I had stopped going to meetings, and I was smoking weed and taking mushrooms. Mushrooms and psychedelics is a total different topic for a total different time. However, there are spiritual benefits to psychedelics. Also, I can personally testify that you're not going to take a psychedelic to feel better. You're not guaranteed to feel better when you take a psychedelic. If I go to the liquor store right now, I'm pretty much guaranteed to drink, and I will be overwhelmed with a state of euphoria, and then a day will go by and I'll start my downward spiral into jails, institutions, and death. But immediately, there is no denying, whatever your drug of choice is, you instantly feel better. Psychedelics is not like that. So that's another topic for a different time, but psychedelics does have benefit. However, check your motives. I had to get rid of weed and psychedelics in my recovery. In my sober life, I was 8 years sober from alcohol. I was 4 years when I started smoking weed and doing mushrooms. Yes, there are benefits, but you have to check your motives, which is the point of this stream. My motives weren't to have a spiritual awakening. They were to get up on mushrooms. They were to get high as hell on weed. And every minute of every day I was smoking weed, and I was eating 11 grams of mushrooms, and I ate 28.5 grams of mushrooms on my 42nd birthday. So, check your motives. When I got honest about my recovery, which is the first principle, which I now live my life by, the 12 principles of Alcoholics Anonymous. Why not? I can't decide. I have no idea what I'm doing out here. I might as well take a blueprint. So I put it as my screensaver. The 12 principles are honesty, hope, faith, courage, integrity, willingness, humility, brotherly love, discipline. Hold on, McDouche is commenting. He's going to comment on why AA sucks and why his opinions on AA rule the world. And he just blocked me off from reading the 12 principles of AA. He comments. There's this guy McDouche was one of the many people that comment on some of my videos. Most of it is overwhelmingly positive. You helped me. But some of them are, this is why you're wrong, and this is why I'm right. These days, I don't say I'm right. These days, I say Alcoholics Anonymous is right. God's will is right. Anyway, let me read them again. Honesty, hope, faith, courage, integrity, willingness, humility, love, discipline, perseverance, spirituality, and service. Here, you want me to? I'm going to read what McDouche said. I post the AA Daily Reflections every day on this channel. The community tab, if you scroll to the right on my channel page, you'll get to the community tab. You can see the daily reflections. He commented 1 hour ago. And then just now. An hour ago he said, AA is the way out for many people. God bless. For me, it's a deterrent. I think to myself, if I have this second beer, he's always bragging about how he only has. Anyway, if I have this second beer, it could lead to AA, where I will have to go through insufferable meetings for the rest of my life. For me, AA in and of itself is the reason not to drink. I could read you, I instinctively wanted to read you my comment, but the motive for doing that is to make my ego feel better. Because I like the way I word things, and it made perfect sense, and it basically took all the wind out of his sails. I'm still telling you. You see how sneaky it is? My ego wants you to know how cool my... Anyway, this is what he says a moment ago. Sober James, interesting. I see an analogous scenario. The point of prison is to reform the criminal. I bet it does a good job for some. I, however, I fear incarceration, so that is my motivation to not commit crimes. For most, AA ends up being a life sentence. That's the other thing, is he's always trying to use big words and shit. Now I have to read it because now my motive is what he's responding to. To his first comment, I responded when he said his reason for not having a second beer is because he doesn't ever want to go to AA. I said there's plenty of reasons not to drink, but they won't keep an alcoholic from drinking. Reasons to not drink never keep an alcoholic from drinking. I had a coma. I could barely walk, and I walked to a beer. You know what I mean? Beers don't create the necessity for the program. We do. Even without one beer, I still need Alcoholics Anonymous. Living by the principles of AA does treat alcoholism daily. It treats character defects that lead to drinking. Opinions like yours don't change that. And his argument is he doesn't commit crimes because he fears incarceration. Well, that's irrelevant. We're not addicted to crimes unless we're addicted to, shoplifting or something. Shoplifters, when they get that dopamine hit from shoplifting, they don't care if they don't want to go to prison. Their addiction is calling the shots. Our addiction will lie to us in our own voice. You're not going to go to prison. You'll just go to jail. You'll just have to pay a fine. You're not going to get caught. It'll lie to us in your own voice. So my argument is the consequences from drinking too much never stopped me. They never stopped anyone with a problem with alcohol. There wouldn't be a problem with alcohol if there were no consequences. The life sentence of life. I like that. What is the point of drinking one beer, Mike says? Nothing. I don't even drink non-alcoholic beers. I didn't even like the taste of alcohol and alcoholic beverages. Yet I've drank. I could brag. I appreciate you posting the traditional James. It's what got me thinking about sobriety again. Are you talking about the daily reflections? Sobriety is the ultimate high. Trusting in God, cleaning house, helping others, being comfortable in your own skin, having self-esteem from doing esteemable things, walking around with that is the ultimate high. Sweezy, either he's not an alcoholic or he is and hasn't admitted it yet or hasn't realized it yet. But he insists he has a couple of beers a month or something like that. But he continues to come back into the comments and stuff. Like I said before, if you don't have the desire to stop drinking, what are you doing on a sober channel? He watches my videos, comments on them. So he's either addicted to feeding his ego, doing random posts on random comment feeds, or who the hell knows? I don't know. So here's another thing about motives. I have been slipping back into, for my ego's sake, randomly on these comment feeds on Facebook and social media and stuff about spirituality this and like sobriety that and like advice this. I've been just like feeding my ego by knocking their arguments out of the park with just basically their own words sometimes. I mean, I'm sure you guys can relate. You get into some kind of fuss on Facebook and, your argument versus their argument. For some reason, it's feeding our egos. I got in the same thing with him. What were my motives? They weren't to help him out if he's an alcoholic. They weren't inconsistent with the principles of AA. There's no brotherly love there. There's no service there. I'm serving my ego. I'm showing love to my own ego by arguing with him, trying to knock his opponent. But he's doing the same thing. Neither of us are winning. So when I upgrade my motive from my old self to my new self, post spiritual awakening, upon my spiritual awakening, it takes practice. I don't just wake up and I'm Jesus. You know what I'm saying? You have to practice, or else you'll slip back into these shady motives that you didn't even see. So I'm feeding my ego about arguing. I'm arguing with the guy, shooting him down with these darts and shit, and I'm good at it, which is even more. It's even more difficult to put it down, but the 12 principles are now my code for life. So if I'm not doing it out of love, if I'm not doing it out of service, if I'm not doing it out of perseverance, honesty, hope, faith, then I'm not doing it. So I upgrade my motives. It doesn't, I say, F you, ego. Get in the back. Put your seatbelt on, your child seat. Our egos don't need to be murdered, says my sponsor. They need to be right-sized. Because when I discovered that my ego has been leading me to the wrong places my entire life, I wanted to face-to-face strangle that mofo. I called him late at night and I said, hey, that was part of my awakening, was realizing that my ego has brought me to all these places, all these careers, these girlfriends that I insisted I wanted, the wrong kind of meetings. Humility is a principle. When I'm feeding my ego by bashing another person, verbally, physically, emotionally, abusing another person, when I'm feeding my ego, deaded. That's got to go. Because slowly and surely, I'm an alcoholic, man. These are luxuries I can't have. Anger and, rage and resentment. These are luxuries of a non-alcoholic. Don't even get me started on all the other mental illnesses that they're not luxuries for, but they're definitely not a luxury for the alcoholic. I cannot be angry, resentful, spiteful. My ego cannot get fed at the expense of someone else. And every day I grow more and more, and I practice more and more. And with that, I can live with myself. I can walk around without wanting to alter my state, alter my mind, because my motives are pure. Have you ever been, there's a lot of guys in here. Have you ever wanted to hit on a girl? Have you ever wanted to have a woman in your life? So you see one you like and you wanted to approach her, except you feel like she's going to know that you just want to do dirty things to her. And she's going to see you coming from a mile away, and you might as well not even approach her anyway. You feel like a bad guy. That's because your motives, you're doing it secretly. You might have good motives. You might want to rub her feet, you know what I mean? Cook her dinner, and just, you might say to yourself, all I want is a partner where we can watch, you know what I'm saying? Go shopping together, watch TV or whatever, you know what I mean? That's not all you want to do. Your ego wants her for certain reasons. Your sexual drive wants her for certain reasons. Your motives are still twisted, so you don't have a pure way of approaching her. So you fail. You fail. You are a snake, so you act like a snake. That's in my experience, at least. So the more and more I practice pure motives, the more and more I find that it's easier to go for what I want. Because what I want is for a good reason. And internally, I have been practicing that, and now I know it. So, like, I can stand up straight and say, baby, you got it going on. you know, you know what I mean? I can look in her eye and say, I'd like to get your number. Can I get your number? Because I'm not a snake in the grass. I'm not trying to get her to show her off to the world. I'm not trying to get her to do dirty things to her or have dirty things done to me by her. At least not on the second date or third, maybe on the second date or third. It all depends if the motives line up. If it's in God's will. If you walk with God's will, all of a sudden, you're not walking all low and looking at the ground. You're walking straight up. You can look people in their eye. This has been a problem for me. I wasn't doing esteemable things all my life, so I didn't have that good of a self-esteem. Only when I was drunk could I ignore my dirty motives, and only when you're drunk can you ignore a lot of things that you shouldn't be ignoring, including, but not limited to, whether or not you're really attracted to that person anyway. Beer goggles, it's a real thing. All of a sudden your values, your principles, they don't just take a backseat. You drove away without them. Your principles and values just didn't get they didn't just take a backseat. You took off in the car without them. You left them on a curb. And now you're driving around drunk, looking for what your ego wants. You just got heated when someone talked shit like block him 2 beers a month. Get the hell out of here. Maybe before a cup of coffee. Yo, bro, I mean, I might block. Well, actually, I think I might have. No, I try to let anyone and everyone, be on here. Even when you're rude or even when you're having a bad day. There's been times where people will be, that one guy was just like, he was trolling me. He was like feeding his ego by putting me down. You know what I'm saying? He's like, what happened to your eyebrows, man? I'm like, I got thin eyebrows, bro. I mean, but he was putting me down. He later, in a couple comments later, after I basically just said, are you okay? You know what I'm saying? With a pure motive, said, are you all right? I know you must be having a bad day. He apologized to everybody. He's like, sorry, I'm having a bad day. I'm going through something. So my point is, I try to let everyone on here until they are toxic. Until they are toxic. Yeah, I got light eyebrows. I don't have any problem with my light eyebrows. And maybe my barber hit him with the clipper or something. So it took what eyebrows I do have. Anyway, he was making fun of them. You know what I'm saying? That's the other thing. With the spiritual awakening, your character is now more important than your comfort. But it's also more important than how you look to other people. So man, my ego wanted me to look good my entire life. Now I don't care as much because it's my character that I'm trying to build. The stuff that you don't even necessarily see. Sweezy, you got a unibrow? I'm sorry, dude. That sucks. I mean, oh, that rocks, man. We all want. I'm jealous. I'm jealous, man. Everybody wants one eyebrow, man. It's trending right now. Yeah, I got barely any eyebrows, and he was coming on here. I forget what he was saying, but he was trying his best. His ego was doing the driving, saying, we're going to cut this guy down and we're going to be a big man tonight. Except I've been that way before, and I asked him what's wrong, and something's wrong, you're having a bad day. Same thing with McDouche. And if you guys want to go read McDouche's comments, One was 36 comments long. It was like a feed we were going back and forth. I forget which one that was, but if you know where the community tab is, you can go read McDouche's comments. But it seems like even on the past two comments, they were milder than his ones before. So he might be, if I can help him, good God. That's an accomplishment to me these days. With my motives in line with in my life, to me these days, it's helping another person that means the most to me. Not if my eyebrows look perfect, not if I'm cool looking or not. I realized this morning, I'm 43 years old. That means if I live to 86, this is the halftime show. I am halfway through my life. For the first time in my life today, I did the math and figured out in what year, decade or whatever, approximately, am I going to be spending my last days. Today was the first day that I was sincerely considering my own death. I'm at the halftime show. You know what I mean? I'm at the halftime show. And I also started thinking, what a better way to be than to go out my back half of life, the second half of my life, or even I might die tomorrow. But what better of a way to go out is living your back half for others and just doing as much as you possibly can for people on your way out. And I even think that's what they mean by eternal life. Because when I die, those people that I have helped, they go on to help others, and that's eternal life. You have a ripple effect in the annals of history. Halftime show sponsored by Home Depot. You can build it, we can help. Like a champion. Damn straight. I had a guy ask me, if you found out the world was going to end in 48 hours, would you drink? I immediately knew the answer, which is a blessing. And it was, hell no, I'm not going to drink. If I only have 48 hours, I'm going out stronger than ever. If I have 48 hours, you best believe somebody's getting serviced. And it ain't going to be me. I'm not going to be drinking booze, jerking off, and stealing money. Or whatever. I wouldn't be stealing money. That'd be silly. If the world was ending. But you know what I'm saying? And that's the nature of this disease. We used to think of ourselves before we have our spiritual awakening. Before we are sober, we're thinking of ourselves. I have never gotten drunk, and it's been tens of thousands of times over the past 2.5 decades that I've gotten drunk. I've never gotten drunk for another person. Ever in my life. That's an example of how the alcoholic is truly self-centered. Self will run riot. We're just trying to feel better. We will do anything, including crimes, to feel better. Especially when the 4 horsemen of alcoholism, terror, bewilderment, fear, and confusion. Mike, what are the 4 horsemen of what are the hideous 4 horsemen of alcoholism? Terror, bewilderment, fear, and confusion, I think. Anyway, when those are on us, you'll do anything. When I'm drunk, I have zero fear of death, exact opposite while I'm sober. I mean, I used to do all those kind. I know exactly what you're talking about. Alcohol is extremely dangerous. Multiple sclerosis. I'm at a stage right now where this whole nerve thing is scaring me, and even then I will never drink. I did plenty of that. Yeah, I feel for you, John Venturini, and And still you come, and share your knowledge in a state of sickness you are right now. You're still a bright shining light to others. That's the kind of man I want to be. And I practice every day. I'm not going to just realize, oh, I want to be a good man like that, and then I am. It takes practice. And that's important. We know DUI is illegal and dangerous, but it makes you literally not care. It may be the only drug that has that characteristic. Right. I could give you my keys before I start drinking and be like, don't let me drive. But there is no way that I'm not getting my keys after 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, 18, 36 beers. I will get my keys. You bet your ass. But fitness gamers, I heard a guy's message today in a favor meeting, Faces and Voices of Recovery. You guys know how I've been talking about pursuing my peer support specialist certification and becoming a peer support specialist as a career choice, helping addicts, using my experience with it to help addicts. Anyway, this guy had a similar story to mine. Addiction caused him homelessness. He was, homelessness, sickness, just the end of the rope. Then it happened, and he started going to AA. And now he's a peer support specialist. Anyway, him sharing his story with me made me realize even more how it works. You listen to that man talk about sleeping in a deserted utility closet or underneath or I forget what he said, but he slept out there and in shelters and stuff. Saudi Arabia, huh? Alcohol is a dangerous drug. Well, the point is, whatever you do, and this takes practice, check your motives. Is your ego driving you? Or is it your higher self? Your higher self is the man, the woman that you want to be. If you want to be somebody that is fairly fit, you can't let your ego skip leg day. You can't let your ego throw your back out because you want beautiful muscles for that girl at that meeting that you shouldn't be going to for that girl at that meeting. You can't let your ego drive. You got to check your motives constantly. A sponsor is good for this. A sponsor's been there, and a sponsor will call you out immediately and just be like, so, you know what I mean? Give it a try. You might like it. Checking your motives. If you discover your motives are disgusting, if you discover your motives are less than the person you want to be, if you discover your motives are going to lead you back to a drink, if you discover your motives are just shallow, if your motives don't match the person you want to be, upgrade your motives. See what your motive can now be if it is purified in the waters of Lake Minnetonka. You know what I mean? That actually brings me to these streams. I'll be on the couch. I'll be like, my back hurts, man. I don't even have a topic for the stream. I'll be in my head talking. Man, you could probably skip your stream. You don't even, I don't want to stream, man. I haven't eaten yet. You know, all these things about me, 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 me. And then I'll catch it because I've been practicing. Bro, what if your motive wasn't about you at all? What if your motives are to get on that stream? What if your motive to name that stream was to help others? You know what I mean? All of a sudden, I don't care if my eyebrows don't show up. All of a sudden, I don't care if my back hurts, if I got a TV show to watch. I don't care because I'm not doing it for me. My motives have been upgraded to doing it for them, for you. That is an honorable motive. That is in line with God's will. That is in line with my higher self. That is in line with the man I want to be. All of a sudden, I'm at my computer and I don't mind. I'm not complaining. I'm not like, my back hurts. Because I'm not thinking of myself again. You know what I mean? So give it a try. Check your motives. If your motives aren't in line with God's will, if your motives aren't in line with your higher self, aka the person you want to be, but sometimes we don't have we think we don't have what it takes to be there, switch your motive around. Make it something pure in the waters of Lake Minnetonka. All right, y'all. I'll see you tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you for being here for me. And until then, keep it clean, keep it real, and keep doing the damn thing as long as it's in God's will. Peace.